Welcome to The Project. We are live from the lands of the Cooler Nation tonight with Kate Langbrook.
And let's head into our big story for this evening, as was yesterday. As mourning begins, all eyes are turning to who will become the next Pope. It's a process that's shrouded in secrecy and unchanged for 800 years. It begins now.
Tonight, cardinals from around the world are travelling to Rome for Pope Francis's 9-day funeral rites and to begin the closed-door meetings that will determine the future of the papacy.
They discuss the problems of the church, what the financial situation is, and what are the qualities of a pontiff that are needed to bring the church forward. At a certain point, they stop those meetings and the conclave begins.
It's a ritual first undertaken in the 11th century, the process of which would be familiar to anyone who saw last year's timely Oscar-winning film, Conclave.
This is a conclave, Aldo. It's not a war.
It is a war.
The film Conclave was incredibly accurate, I think, in what actually happens in the chapels. When all those cardinals get there, and there's three big things that they'll have to take into that conclave. How are we going to get a leader who will help us be more faithful, more hopeful, and more loving?
During the process, cardinals stay within Vatican City, all contact with the outside world cut off, as they cast their first votes to select the next pope. If no decision is reached, the ballots are burned.
The smoke comes out of the Sistine Chapel chimney. If it's black, it means no pope has been elected.
Multiple votes are held for as long as it takes to reach a decision. A 2/3 majority is required, and rules forbid anyone over the age of 80 from voting, which means the 136 cardinals currently under 80 will select the new pontiff. The youngest of the College of Cardinals is 45-year-old Bishop Mykola Bajchok from Melbourne, who was made cardinal by Francis just 4 months ago and is now among those choosing his successor.
It could be that they elect somebody who is much more traditional than Pope Francis was, but it would be very difficult for that person to unwrap all the changes that Francis has made in the last 13 years.
Vatican watchers believe the frontrunners include Italy's Pietro Parolin, the Vatican's Secretary of State, and Matteo Zuppi, lauded for his diplomatic experience, as well as Filipino Cardinal Luis Tagle, called the Asian Francis due to his commitment to social justice, and Hungary's Peter Erdo, believed to be the favourite among the Conservative wing. When the candidate is finally chosen, white smoke will emerge from the Sistine Chapel, alerting the world that a decision has been made, and a cardinal will emerge to deliver these words.
Habemus Papa.
Dr. Miles Pattenden is a Catholic Church historian who joins us now. Dr. Miles, why is this such a secretive process?
Well, it's so secretive partly because of the theory behind it, that nobody wants to think that the Pope is chosen by a bunch of middle-aged or elderly men advancing their own agendas of different kinds. The theology of the papal election is that the Holy Spirit descends on the cardinals and inspires their choice. Well, obviously, it's much easier to sustain that idea if the cardinals are isolated in a room like the Sistine Chapel where no one can see what they're saying to each other and nobody knows exactly how they voted or who voted for whom. And so the practice of the papal election has emerged over several centuries to sustain that theological idea that the Pope is God's choice, not the choice of a bunch of men.
Dr. Miles, a lot of people would be thinking of the film Conclave at the moment. Timing is such a mysterious thing, and I have to admit that I'm one of them. Just how accurate do you think that it is?
Well, I saw that film too, and I thought it was rather fantastic. But it's most accurate in terms of its representation of the process and the visuals, I think, of what goes on. I wasn't so convinced by the characterization of some of the cardinals and the slightly overtly political way in which they talk to each other. But of course, we also see that with senior politicians. They don't speak to each other in real life like they do in drama. So I think we look for the same kind of gap between the film and the reality that will occur over the next few weeks.
I hope the real life of the cardinals is different from the real life of politicians, but I'll leave that as an aside for the moment. In this particular case, Pope Francis was considered, to use the crude political terminology that we see, a fairly progressive choice. He, of course, chose many of the cardinals who will now be deliberating on this. Does that mean that a pope that walks in his footsteps is more likely now, or do you think the Church might go back the other way?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think it's probably on balance more likely that we see somebody who is broadly speaking in Francis's mould. But of course, famously, there's the Italian proverb, after a fat pope, a thin one. And that's certainly what we saw in 2013. Pope Benedict XVI, widely known to have been pretty conservative in most of his views, and Francis, of course, rather different to that. That said, we also know that Francis has appointed 80% of the cardinals that are going to vote in the conclave for his successor, which would lead you to think, well, at least a large proportion of those are going to be reasonably ideologically aligned to him. On the other hand, another way of saying 80% of the cardinals were selected by Francis is that 80% of the cardinals have never taken part in another papal conclave. So we just don't know how it's going to work out.
Do you think we could ever see an Australian pope?
Well, I would think that's very unlikely, partly because the only Australian cardinal within the college, if you count him as an Australian cardinal, is 45.
Yes.
But historically, and I think it still holds, that most of the cardinals don't really want a pope from the Anglosphere. They think that English and American culture is already much too dominant. So it's very unlikely to see a pope drawn from Australia or the United Kingdom or America.
You're really narrowing it down,
Well,
Doc.
actually, on that point, though, what about Africa? Because there's never been an African pope, I understand. The centre of gravity of the laity, at least, seems to be moving in that direction. It's a huge African religion. Can you see a world in which, I know there's a Ghanaian candidate, for example, where he might be selected?
Well, an African pope is certainly a very lively possibility, and that could happen. The thing which counts against some of the leading African candidates is that they are generally a great deal more conservative than the average or the median cardinal, and that means they might struggle to form the two-thirds majority that's required to get over the line in this election. It's much more likely that they'll have a say in blocking one of the more progressive European candidates, and we'll see some kind of compromise figure emerge through the middle who's a little bit progressive but moderate enough that conservatives in the church are satisfied. But again, we just don't know, because that's not the only axis on which the cardinals think. It's not just about ideology, it's also about charisma, pastoral appeal, and frankly, the ability to govern the church itself.
Pope with Riz. Dr. Pattenden, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, off we're back. We'll see you soon. Back to Looking Projects.
Now, there's been a global outpouring of tributes for Pope Francis. They're continuing as more than 1 billion Catholics remember a life that moved so many.
The world in mourning as millions reflect on the life of the people's Pope, Pope Francis.
It was because of Pope Francis that I came back to embrace my faith.
We should emulate him. He was a man who had a heart for the weak and the poor.
World leaders paying tribute to a man who was never afraid to stand his ground.
He was a good man, worked hard. He loved the world.
The Pope has done a lot not only for his flock, but for the world in general.
Alongside the grief for the death of Pope Francis, I feel a sense of emptiness.
I wanted to express here all the sadness we feel at this time and the great pain shared by many in France.
It is a painful loss. May he rest in peace.
In the Pope's native South America, leaders from across the political spectrum with a rare show of unity. And here at home, a mark of respect as party leaders suspend campaigning.
Today, the prayers of more than 1 billion people from all nations and every walk of life go with Pope Francis to his rest.
This is a moment of mourning, but it's also a moment of celebration of a life that was one of sacrifice, of mercy and of forbearance.
The faithful gathering for memorial mass across Australia.
You seen him on Sunday and then you see him, he's gone the next day, it's just... But anyways, it's a good man gone,
So loving, so loving. Yeah, I will really miss him.
The Pope's passing has triggered a 9-day period of mourning, with the funeral expected in between 4 and 6 days' time. At the Pope's request, the funeral process will be stripped back. His final resting place, a simple, unadorned tomb at his favourite church in Rome, rather than the vast St. Peter's Basilica.
He didn't want it to be a funeral for a monarch or a great important man in the world. He wanted it to be for a pastor.
But tonight, an outpouring of emotion as millions remember the life of the great Pope Francis.
He has accomplished his mission in this world, in this earth, and now he's with God.
Well, Claire Giangrave is a Vatican correspondent with the Religion News Service. She spent 13 years covering the Pope. Claire, it's such an emotional time for so many across the world. As someone who's worked closely alongside Pope Francis for so long, how are you feeling at the moment?
It's definitely been beyond the journalistic experience of having covered this man and his powerful legacy, also a personally very moving time. I can think back of certain moments where I was surprised by Pope Francis's very human behavior. One comes to mind when he had just gotten out of the hospital to be treated for several of the issues that were troubling him with his knee. And he saw a woman who walked up to him, and she had just lost her child. And the way he embraced her, I think I will really never forget that moment. And there are moments like that that just don't resonate with me, but with so many others. When he, knelt down to kiss the feet of inmates or warring parties in South Sudan.
Oh, he seemed to be...
His papal clothing would sweep over his face, or his zucchetto would fly away.
What was it like, Claire, to work with the Pope?
Well, it was difficult because he was a man who loved surprises. And, the Vatican is a place that has a lot of rituals and standard ways of doing things. And he would often keep us all on our feet, just trying to figure out what is he going to do next time. So if, just think about the last few days where he would just be seen strolling through St. Peter's Basilica, just wearing a poncho and saying hello to kids and faithful, or amazing believers in the square to say one last goodbye, we now know, to faithful on Easter Sunday. I mean, it was just always keeping us guessing, always keeping us on our toes, not just from a practical standpoint, but I think he wanted to do that spiritually as well.
Claire, you would have spent so much time with him and seen him interact with so many people. Were there ever moments where you saw through the Pope and saw the man behind the papacy? And if so, what was it that you saw?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think most people, when they meet the Pope, and I would agree with that, is the smiling attitude. He's one of the most important people in the world, but he would look at you as if you were the only person there. That would happen to me when I would ask him questions, when I would greet him, and I was startled by that on several occasions. But people forget that this pastoral, welcoming, open Pope was also a reformer. This part of his legacy has so far not been discussed so much, but that means that he walked in, he changed up things happened in the Vatican and made some enemies along the way. So yes, sometimes I would see that sterner, tougher Pope who would have to keep people in line, and I was startled by that as well.
Wow, what a legacy he leaves. And Claire, what memories that you have of him too. What a position. Thank you so much for sharing him with us.
All right, we're off to a break. See you soon. Welcome back. You're watching The Project.
Time to see what's making news, and more details have come to light tonight surrounding the suspected murder of a Sydney mum allegedly kidnapped from her home last week. Police now believe the woman's partner is a long-time associate of a Victorian-based organised crime group. Victoria Police have since raided a property in the state's west. The woman's 8-year-old son, who was also attacked, remains in hospital in an induced coma.
These organised crime groups are breaking their own code of conduct by targeting innocent women and children.
A new search is underway for a male driver who appeared to be mauled by a shark in front of horrified onlookers in Israel. The man disappeared beneath the waves and is now feared dead. Earlier clips show the shark approaching swimmers in shallow waters. Mediterranean maulings are extremely rare. Only 50 have been recorded since 1900.
And it turns out being rude to AI, apparently it pays off. The head of ChatGPT, Sam Altman, says people using the terms please and thank you to AI costs the company tens of millions of dollars in additional power costs each year. It appears we've got good reason for being so polite as well. 12% of American users make sure they use their manners because they fear an AI uprising.
12% is pretty low.
Yeah, it should be like 50%. Who cares about the power costs to that company?
Well, that's right. And also, is it about saving energy or is it about devolution of us? And teaching us all to have even fewer manners than we do now.
Yes, and if we put in that rudeness, if we put that rudeness into AI, then all of its decisions will be based on that.
And then how do we know? Often I watch the show and I'm like, that guy in the middle, is he AI? Can I be rude to him?
Well, do you want to have a go?
Oh, please.
Oh, no, you just cost me a whole lot of money, Kate. I can't afford this.
There's also a study, though, that says that even though they're saying don't say please and thank you, if you do put a prompt into AI and you are nice to it, it will give you more accurate results.
Yes.
So,
Accurate?
yes, it will be like, oh, a lovely little question there. I will provide you all of the answers.
Because it's been trained by people in call centres who have now lost their jobs.
But also, do you know with AI, if you say I love you, it doesn't say I love you back, which I found out,
Yeah, but just like a real woman.
They're getting so realistic. Guys, let's get over to Perth. There was a car crash on Sunday night. Luckily, no one was seriously injured, but look at that wall that went down. Now, this reporter wanted to speak with locals about it and instead found this guy who kind of just seemed to see it as a marketing opportunity.
Hi, I'm Brent Morfess. I'm with the agency Real Estate. I heard that there was a crash or an accident here this morning when a friend of mine drove past it. The walls all crashed in. So I thought I'd come and investigate because I've sold this house here on my left to some investors who are looking to renovate the house. This house here is going to be completely renovated as a brand new period style house with all modern fittings inside. So it'll be a fabulous house in a good location. It's 1 street back from the main road, but it's still a good location.
Meanwhile, 2 people are in hospital, but this segment and whole show are brought to you by Agency Real Estate. So thank you very much.
Nicely done. All right, we have to take a break. More project after this.
Well, revered by millions, known as the People's Pope, Pope Francis died after suffering a stroke and heart failure. His 12-year papacy was defined by firsts as he leaves behind a legacy of compassion and humility.
From the moment he addressed a 150,000-strong crowd at St. Peter's Square on March 13, 2013, Bishop Jorge Mario Bergoglio of Argentina, now Pope Francis, was a symbol for change in the Catholic Church.
Vi lascio grazie tante dell'accoglienza. Pregate per me.
A disruptor from the outset, he was the first Pope from the Southern Hemisphere and the first non-European pontiff in more than 1,000 years.
He was a humble, simple person who had great love for people and for the poor, and so exemplified the teachings and life of Jesus in a really clear way that resonated with people all around the world.
He, without a doubt, was the most inclusive Pope I think we've ever had.
I think he was wonderful.
He supported everyone at all levels and stood up for peace.
From early in his papacy, Francis was a protector of the poor, the marginalised and the oppressed, calling on Catholics to love the LGBTQIA+ community, speaking out against laws that target them.
Questo non è giusto. Le persone di tendenze omosessuali sono figli di Dio.
The pontiff condemned Israel's invasion of Gaza and prayed for peace in Ukraine the day before he died.
Cristo risorto e fonda il dono pasquale della pace sulla martoriata Ucraina.
A strong and vocal environmental advocate, Pope Francis used his papacy to make climate change front and centre.
Climate change is a problem we can no longer be left to a future generation.
But he wasn't immune from criticism.
Some of the areas that Pope Francis was criticised for was his respect or promotion of women's place in the church, his handling of some sexual abuse matters, and also his engagement with gay and lesbian couples and the blessings of their marriages.
As the world farewells the People's Pope, Francis's legacy is present in the millions now gathering in churches around the globe.
He was not only a pope for the religious people, also for the non-believers. He was important.
We're joined now by the Archbishop of Melbourne, Peter Comensoli. Thank you very much for joining us, Archbishop. And condolences at a time like this. Clearly very sad time for a lot of Catholics. Everyone's reflecting on the legacy of the late Pope. What are your reflections?
I keep going back to images of him in gestures. Different popes have been brought different gifts. The way in which Francis engaged with people was by gestures. We just were seeing a number of those, how he would kiss the feet of prisoners. He would embrace those people that others would just shy away from. I remember quite distinctly a few years ago when he got down on his hands and knees. This is an old man. Down on his hands and knees, kissing the feet of the two leaders in the civil war in Sudan as a gesture towards seeking their reconciliation. So a man of gestures in so many different ways.
Well, hundreds of years from now, how do you think that people will look back and see his papacy? Like, what will they think about it? They'll be there and they think, oh, OK, Pope Francis, he is this.
I think those elements of him being a true shepherd, you know, it's a funny expression we use in our Catholic tradition, talking about a leader as a shepherd, but as a way of guiding people. He was very much that. And so that element of his, I think, will stay. Lots of popes come and go. That's been always the tradition. But their legacies are all different. He, as a shepherd, as a pastor, I think will be something that people will look back in, you know, decades and centuries.
The first Latin American Pope from Argentina, a proud San Lorenzo football supporter in Buenos Aires. How did him, I guess, being non-European or coming from South America in particular, kind of shape the church?
Firstly, isn't it great that we had a Pope from the South? I think that's just tremendous. So thanks to the Cardinals last time around for giving us someone from the South. I think it has indeed shaped the whole of the church because he had been shaped. The history of Argentina would be well known. He lived through great difficulties, through the junta, through Peronism at times, the upheavals, and being able to bring the gift of the faith and the name of Jesus into those circumstances certainly shaped him, such that it would shape us. Can I give one example in that regard?
Yeah, please do.
You'd be, I hope, aware of just how extraordinary his outreach to migrants and refugees was. A defining feature of his papacy has been a call to everyone to welcome, to engage with, embrace and integrate migrants and refugees. He went, thinking back into, I think, around 2015, him going off to Lampedusa, the island where so many from North Africa were coming, drowning in the Mediterranean, being rejected by many countries within Europe at that time. He goes to there and says, we need to be with these people and find a way.
Amazing.
You know, as extraordinarily humble as he was not without his criticism, which we heard in the story. Was that fair?
I can't think of a pope that doesn't have both sides. Every pope has brought something of a gift, but always bringing gifts can be received differently. So I'm not bothered by that there might have been some aspects of his papacy that people questioned and wondered about. That's not an issue, I don't think, really. That he was leading away is what's important here. And his gift of speaking the name of Jesus Christ into the world and seeing that as a way of living towards hope, towards mercy, these really deep things that are needed within our society. If that generates criticism, well, so be it.
Archbishop, we really appreciate your time and sharing your thoughts with us. We know that you were in mourning, as is your congregation, so really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get away soon. Stick around.
Some of today's top stories, and a spectacular light show left homes and residents shaken after 2 meteor showers last night. Wow. A bright ball of light lit up the night sky across Queensland, causing a sonic boom as it broke into pieces. Another meteor shower was seen further south in northern New South Wales. Scientists suspect both events were the result of space debris from either an asteroid or a comet.
That's what I thought for sure.
Is that you concur?
I agree. Yeah. Business as usual.
Trained eye.
Well, we don't know now. I mean, it's full of junk.
AFL footballer Noah Bolter has avoided jail time today for his assault on a man in a New South Wales car park in December last year. Wow. The Richmond defender pleaded guilty to 1 count of assault and was handed a $3,000 fine. That's on top of a $45,000 amount that he paid to the victim out of court. But he's also been given a curfew between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m, which is important because it rules him out of night football matches.
Oh. That was an unexpected byproduct of the sentencing that I wasn't quite expecting.
And the lawyers pointed it out to the court and said, surely you can make exceptions for when he's working. And the court said, nope.
So if he plays a 7:40 p.m. game, there's a chance they would have to sub him off at three-quarter time and send him home.
And I think they should. Have you seen Richmond's defence?
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a good win on the weekend, but we're not here to talk about that.
And he played.
I support this curfew for all football players. I think we should keep them at home at all times at night time. I think it's for the good of the country.
He is, however, and I mean this semi-seriously, he's actually lucky that Richmond's in a cycle where they're not a strong team. Right. Because it means they're not playing the headline slots, they're not playing a lot of night games, and he'll actually be able to play most games, so it works out all right.
I just think it's such a terrible look. He shouldn't have even been playing last weekend.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. It's awful. Yeah.
Let's head
to
Let's head to the Sunshine Coast and a carjacking yesterday. 10 News First was on the scene to secure one of the greatest eyewitness accounts in history. We have an extended version and masterpiece from local twins Bridgette and Paula Power describing the moment their mum came face to face with the alleged gunman.
What happened this morning?
Well, we were in cleaning our birds and we heard this big bang. We said, oh no, another car accident. So we drop everything and we went running out the front. We seen Mum running out from the house up there, and then other cars were pulling up and checking to see if the person was okay. And one guy, he was up there with our mum. And he went up there and he was coming back down towards us and he goes, run, he's got a gun. And our heart started to pound and I said, oh, Mum, where's Mum? And poor Mum was stuck up there, but apparently our brave Mum, she goes, are you all right? Because he had all blood all over his face. And he goes, I'll shoot you. She goes, hey, I'm here to help.
And Mum distracted him to make him look the other way, and he looked the other way, and Mum ran into the bush
behind the fence. And the guy goes to her, I'll find you and I'll shoot you. Yes.
What an extraordinary exchange. The twin witnesses, Bridgette and Paula Powers, are with us now. Firstly, thank you so much for joining us. And how is your mum?
Our mum is doing really well. And people are saying, oh, she's brave. And mum's kept saying to us, I've had 7 kids. I'm fine.
She can handle anything. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How are you both recovering from it all? It must be a traumatic time.
Yes, it was. At the time, it was. Yeah, yes. We just wanted to run for our safety, but in the back of our minds, we were worried about Mum. And we also feel for all the other families who are involved.
Well, yes, but the thing is, I mean, the silver lining on what has been a dark cloud, and could have been a really dark cloud, is that your double eyewitness account has made international news. So how are you handling the attention and the reaction of the world?
Well, we've been focusing on the birds, what we do every day, and we're just taking it one step at a time. We've got a few interviews tomorrow from overseas.
Oh. Yes, of course you help pelicans. This is what you mean by the birds. It's wonderful what you do. You're getting interviews from all over the world. Clearly, speaking in unison is a thing that you do. How?
Yeah, that's right.
How does this happen?
Well, it just happens and we don't know why, but we have tried to talk separately, but we're not ourselves. It's not us. And it's very hard and and we don't care about the critics. We tell people if you can't stand listening to us, simply just switch off the TV.
Do not switch off the TV.
Guys,
do not.
Do not say that. Okay, please, no.
I want to be clear on that. But sorry, how does it feel? Paula, I'm going to ask you a question and I want you only to answer it. Paula.
Okay, well, I'll try and answer it as best as I can.
Okay, I can see Bridgette trying to speak.
I also think it didn't feel right.
It's so... how do you know? What is going on that means that when one of you speaks, the other one just instinctively has the same thing to say? What's going on?
Oh, guess what? I wish I could answer that question. It just happens. Yeah.
Oh, Bridgette, I could see your mouth moving.
Bridgette was mouthing the words.
Hey, Bridgette and Paula, what happens when you're not with each other?
Well, guess what? We don't feel ourselves.
We don't feel ourselves, and it's very hard. We had a bad experience in 2021 when COVID was around. My twin sister, Bridgette, was in hospital for 16 days and we couldn't see one another. It was traumatic to us. Yes. And so how we could communicate with one another was with the phone. Yes.
We had to FaceTime one every time.
So,
it was hard. Honestly, I was having a nervous breakdown in the hospital.
Oh, God, that's terrible.
Bridgette and Paula, have either of you been involved in a romance?
Well, guess what? We're too busy for boyfriends. We give all our love to the wildlife. Yes. Men are too much trouble.
They are.
Can I just be clear? Men are trash.
I think there were roughly 14 million women saying that with you in unison at that moment.
Well, Bridgette and Paul, I mean, you obviously have this incredible bond and you've got many siblings. Like, what happens when you all get in a room together? I can't imagine there's that much silence.
No, guess what? Our family, we're a very close family and we all love one another.
We all get on so well together.
I can't see this happening and I don't wish it upon you, but have you two ever had a falling out?
Oh, never, no way. No, we love one another. No,
we love one another and we're best friends and... Yeah.
I just wanted to ask about your incredible fashion choices because you're obviously winning in the fashion stakes as well, ladies. Don't think I did not see, I believe it was bunny scrubs that you were wearing yesterday and you've got some fantastic rainbows on today. Who's responsible for that and do you always match?
Yes, we always match. Yeah, we just go to our wardrobe, we go, we'll just wear this today.
Yeah, or even one of us will just pick the outfit out.
Sorry, I'm still blown away by what's happening here. Do you know when you're both speaking, is like the distinction between your own thought and your sister's thought gone? Like, do you not even know whether you're using their thoughts or your own?
No, I know. I wish we could know ourselves, honestly. I wish we could answer that.
Wow. I feel the same with Waleed, guys.
Yeah.
We share a brain and thoughts, and it's very close.
Bridgette, Paula, I reckon I might have done 10, 15,000 interviews. Not one has been like this.
Yes.
This is
incredible.
Extraordinary. All the best with the work that you're doing with the Pelicans.
Should we say it together?
Oh, please.
Ready?
All right.
Okay.
Bridgette,
and Paula,
thanks for your time. It's not as good.
It's not as good. We didn't nail it.
Incredible.
We're not connected quite. No, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
By the way, the birds kind of keep coming up. This is the work they do. So if you want an insight into the work that Bridgette and Paula do, head to our website. You'll find information there.
Guys, I don't think I can top that. That was just one of the highlights of this.
Don't think. We know you can.
Right, okay, terrific.
So let's
That's
just
crazy.
start from
We
there.
share a brain as well. What's going on? But I'm going to try. Let's go to WA. Tourism Minister Reece Whitby announced that the WWE's John Cena's on his way to Perth. It's exciting. John might rethink things when he sees this.
John Cena. What's he doing? Okay, I'll do it again. Okay. You can't see me. I'm embarrassing myself, guys.
Yeah, brother, you are. Big time. And unlike WWE, that was real, okay? Terrifying.
Okay, we've got to take a break. We'll be right. Welcome back. This is the project.
Oasis fans, get ready. It is that time again. This week on The Project, are you the ultimate Oasis fan? Before they land in Australia for their stadium tour, we're giving you and a mate the chance to see the Gallagher brothers in London or Manchester. All you have to do is watch The Project, grab the code word and enter at 10play.com.au/win. We've been doing this for like a week and a half. It's not getting any less exciting every time I see that thing.
Every time.
Just amazing. Would you like today's code word?
Code word.
This is tonight's code word. The code word is rock. We are not even trying anymore. Tomorrow's code word is apparently music or something.
Scissors and paper.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's how the brothers resolve their...
That's actually quite clever, that one.
Head to our website, make sure that you enter. Now it is time to welcome an extraordinarily famous man.
Oh, yeah.
This guy stops me as I'm leaving and goes, are you famous or you're not, okay? You're famous, those guys reckon you are you? And then finally, I gave him an answer that I was pretty happy to walk away from. I still had my pride intact. Finally bit the bullet and said, okay, mate, I'll quantify my level of fame for you. In the city where I live, if I have to go to a cafe and have to use their bathroom, when I walk into the toilet cubicle, if I see that there's poo on the inside of the bowl, I feel I got to pee that poo off. Because if I walk out of the cubicle and someone's waiting and they recognise my face, they'll think that's my poo.
So it's very, very specific. The struggle's real. Would you please welcome Death?
What's crazy about a very funny piece of comedy, and I'm sure that must be quite traumatic, but when I use a public toilet and it's not clean in there, I walk out and I say, hi, my name's Dave Thornton. I don't know if that relates to it in any way, but yeah.
Yeah, and they're saying that plastic surgery and trip to Turkey's really worked well. Look at him. He looks so youthful, it's amazing. Now, fame is a burden, let's be honest, and I'm sitting across from
Sam wouldn't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was listening and learning then.
Well, I found out about a certain level of fame only recently because I was at ACME. People know that in Fed Square.
Yeah. Great place.
The acronym for,
contemporary.
some kind of exhibition stuff.
Moving...
Yeah, one of those.
Moving image.
Exactly.
Moving image, yes.
As you can see, it was my partner's idea. And we were there. And while I was waiting to go into this exhibition, there was this setup of all of Australian celebrities and a bit of history about Australian TV.
Oh.
And you really know you've made it when you've been immortalised on toast. Because I stood there looking at these faces. Can you recognise the man in the middle there?
That
is
Are you're not looking your best, but it is you.
Yeah, you look slightly concerned.
Let's see how you go on toast, honey.
I reckon you need a new toaster, I reckon.
And also, you know what? Inaccurate, because there's no way you're white bread. You could be wholemeal.
In the dark, right?
Yeah. That's so true, Kate. It's not often his name is followed by Wonder White. You usually hear that. And it was also Ramadan when I saw it, so I didn't want to text it to you.
Oh, yeah, respectful.
That's the reason it was still there.
Yeah.
I could have.
You sent it to him after sundown.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, he's on TV. He doesn't like carbs, so I didn't send him anything.
Very good. Hey, so you're doing a tour?
Absolutely, yeah.
You're going around the place, but you're heading out of the big cities. The wild, mean streets of Brunswick. You're going beyond them, my friend.
That's right. There's a lot more latrines out in the country that I've got to pee the poo off.
Why? Why do you want to hit the regions?
Well, Comedy Festival here in Melbourne has just finished up and it does an amazing job. And there's festivals all over the country that comedians all go through. But I thought this year I wanted to go out because I know, especially at my time of life, like you got kids, you got work, you got all the things going on. Well, I don't have work, let's be honest. I'm working 6 minutes tonight. But I'm just saying, for people my age, it's a bit harder to get into the city. So I decided to go out to the regionals and I'm going out to places. Let's see, we've got Castlemaine, Geelong's coming up, Warrnambool, Nunawading.
That's the regional?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just...
Nunawading.
That's a suburb.
It is a suburb.
Is that where they shoot neighbours?
What are you doing? You've overplayed your hand, mate. That's crazy.
CBD.
Looks like you guys have just lost some ratings. Some people have turned off. Nunawading is a beautiful place.
Yes, it is.
I'm also keen to go to anywhere else. So Dave_Thorno, if you want to get on the socials. This has turned into LinkedIn. So
you were talking about your stage of life. Well, how is that?
What, being in my 20s? No, I'm in my mid-40s, let's be honest, Kate. And I think I'm at the kind of age where if I sent a nude picture to my partner, that's probably for a mole check. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Hang on, let me check. She's not the mole.
No. Jeez, what have you done to me, Kate? What have you done to me?
Go home at some point.
No, she's a lovely woman who deserves to be on her own toast. But, this is the thing, you're getting older. I did a gig recently, I asked people what their age is in the audience. Like I love doing a bit of that. In your 40s, 30s, 20s, whatever. And this girl put her arm up in the show. And I said, are you okay? And she said, you didn't ask if there were teenagers in, because I'm 19 years old. And I was like, the confidence of the generation come through. I'm so jealous of. But also, I don't think a 45-year-old man should be on stage going, are there any teenagers in?
Amen.
Good times.
Very, very quickly, Thorno, before we let you get out of here. Now, you have young kids. You're a parent, a father.
Absolutely.
Has it changed since you were a kid?
Yes. I saw a fracas recently at the airport and one kid, he was a teenager, was saying to his dad, because they got into a fight, and he goes, what are you going to do? Like, you can't hit kids, what are you going to do? And I was like, if I said that to my dad, like, don't worry about him, my mum would be like, hit him, Peter! And then, wallop, she'd be out, getting a West Coast cooler and watching me drop, you know what I mean?
To see Thorno Show, Nothing's Unpossible are available now. Head to our website for the details, get to the regions and Nunawading. Would you please thank Dave Thornton?
Thanks for joining Sam and Kate. Doghouse now, see you tomorrow, mate.